So, good afternoon, everybody. I'm happy to welcome all of you and our speaker of today, Abu Siddiq. Before I forget, in the beginning, we from outside, people from outside, please write into the chat because we cannot hear you. You can hear us, hopefully, but we cannot hear you. So coming back to our speaker, Abu Siddiq is a Bangladeshi, his origin is from Madaripur. It's on the river Ganges shortly after Brahmaputra and Ganges unite. And he started studying in Turkish Republic 14 years ago at Istanbul University. And he made a PhD there, dealing with faunal material from famous early Neolithic sites like Çatalhöyük, Çayönü, and Sefertepe. And 9 years ago, he was called to Mardin and is an associate professor there. Mardin is in the core of the Fertile Crescent. And Abu said me it's the easternmost outpost of Mediterranean climate. It's between Euphrates and Tigris. It's this Mesopotamian part of Turkish Republic close to the Iraqi border. Very interesting, very old, multilingual town. And Abu also, he of course, you know, from archaeology, you always have to build very often. There are some traditions, but very often you have to start from new. So he built up the collection. And there was a problem with today because all the animal bone people are in Munich because there is the ASFA conference, and all the Neolithic people have been to Sada, or maybe still they are swimming. So, but we are happy Abu chose Vienna, which is right in the middle, maybe closer to Sada. And because of the long-term schedule of HEAS, and we are very happy that you decided for Vienna. And Abu is also a writer, a prolific writer, and he wrote a non-fiction book, which was, I think, on the top list of Turkish non-fiction books. It's about the man-animal or the human-animal relationship in prehistory. And this is also the topic which he will present today. Be prepared for intensive Pecha for movie length. So happy, the stage is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Carl. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for the introduction. So as Carl introduced, so do you hear me? So from internet also is so they hear me or from internet,
yes,
right?
We can hear you. Yes, we can hear you.
So thank you so much for the introduction. So before I start talk, so I have to give my intentions why I'm doing zooarchaeology and then why I'm giving this talk today. So I'm an archaeologist, prehistoric archaeologist like you, but from the beginning of my study, I was thinking like why we are very much anthropocentric. Everybody is complaining the world, humanity, mess, this and that, always complaining. And then I saw the scientist, I saw the theologist, I saw business people, I saw politicians, I saw even very much environmental activists. And then I see in the core of every masses is the human-centric essence, human-centric plea. So I say, yeah, this is the reason we are very much destructive. We are not aware about our attitude. So then as a prehistoric archaeologist, I was thinking like, what's the reason behind this anthropocentric psychology? That's why I decided to understand the evolutionary process of anthropocentric worldview. And that's why I started to do zooarchaeology. to our attitude towards other species, other animals who are moving like us, bleeds like us, acts like us. So our attitude towards other animals, what was the process? Because once upon a time, we weren't like this. So how we came into this being like in our psychology. So that's why I started to do zooarchaeology. So as you see, like I will be talking about in a certain stage, like the early sedentary time, like when we decided to settle down. So so here's the talk. I'll be talking about like so I have a lot of information and things to share, but I will make it very quick and short so that I can convey the message to you. So my talk will be like in this stage, like in the beginning, I'll discuss like very shortly, like what happened, and why understanding this early sedentary life is important for understanding my question, the question of evolutionary process of anthropocentric worldview from animal perspectives, of course. And then to support this, I will be discussing a couple of sites from Anatolia. So two stages from Pre-Pottery Neolithic early. I'll be talking, giving some information about from 3 sites from Anatolia, Upper Mesopotamia, and then we will be going to in the Pre-Pottery Neolithic B stage, when this domestication stage, like controlling over animals and plants, started actually, and then we will be discussing like in this short period, like 3,000 years, what happened, and then how we came into this stage, what these 3,000 years actually contributed us to this here. So we know like. Human being actually so far there are like like arguments like how many human species we discovered in the world to date, but at least from like some argue 11, some argue even 21, 18 like this. So we know that except Neanderthal human and Homo sapiens, there weren't like question of why question. There were like only what question. So because everybody was like in their survival mode, there wasn't any kind of let's say supernatural belief in other human species from Neanderthal and from Homo sapiens. We started to see the behavior and the evidence, archaeological evidence of the belief in supernatural being rather than survival things. Can I share it? Yeah. This one, right? Yeah. All right. It's noisy. Yeah, from other wall. Yeah, it's okay. This is our luck, so no problem. So if we see this process, so even the culture we are following, the technological culture, the changing environmental assets for our own purpose is actually doesn't go with the genus Homo. It goes far beyond before Homo. So it means the culture we are now, like let's say everyday life, we are using our clothes, our home, our food stuff, everything actually, the exploitation of environment for our own benefit or our comfort, actually this trend actually we just inherited from other species, not us. We just followed their trend. We didn't invent this. So recently, like in 2015, there was a study. The early tool makers wasn't the genus Homo. We know this. So it means, so if we see this cultural trend, even this not belong to us, but still, when we see from us, like from this Homo erectus, like 2 million years, even the earliest Homo to until now, we see our life, over 99% of our life actually was mobile. So we weren't sedentary, we weren't settled. Only 0.0567% actually we are living in sedentary life. It means not even 1% of humanity actually we are living in sedentary life. So it means we weren't sedentary. So what happened in this process, and what happened before these sedentary things? So this is a big question to understand. So the mess we were talking about, the humanity or the world we are talking about now, actually, if we understand this, understanding this sedentary life actually is vital. So maybe we can have some important clues for the situation we are going through today. So that's why I have this question, like, why is our tendency to put human always center of our thinking, center of our knowledge, center of our imagination? And then what is there any relationship with our early Sedentism? Is there animal factors, both zoarchaeological and also archaeological, can have provide us some clues about this? And in this early sedentary process, which kind of, or what kind of process actually human went through, and now how we came into this situation? So these questions actually we'll be discussing. And if we see before the sedentary, like permanently village, there were like trends. So it was about let's say 12,500, 600 years ago. So there was a period it called Younger Dryas. So there was like after the Holocene, there was like warming up, late Pleistocene. After the Pleistocene, later period of Pleistocene, about 18,000, 19,000 years ago. There was like climate was warming up, and then about 13,700 years ago, 13,800 years ago, there was a short, like 2,000 years, very cold, again, like another ice age, but very short ice age. It's called Younger Dryas. And then there was like argument, like in that time, people couldn't actually adapt with the environment, and there were resource crisis. But over the last 30 years, there were very new data coming up from Upper Mesopotamia, Eastern Mediterranean, and then we see like people were settling down in that time. So in the very beginning, there were like semi-sedentary. So people were moving 6 months from one place to another, and then one season in another area, like this way. So one season in one place continuously, not on the constantly move, like 2 months here, 2 months there, not like this. So these like semi-sedentary people gradually started to settle down permanently, and then they started first, let's say, sedentary village, first sedentary community in the world. So but it all happened in Younger Dryas, not in the Holocene. So among these sites, 3 prominent sites actually more focused in our research. One is Tel Muraybet, another is Tel Abu Huraira, and another site is Kortik Tepe in southeastern Turkey. So you see people actually, they were settling down like in this kind of landscape. So it was kind of valley, a lot of plants, a lot of animal resources available, and you didn't have to move, but you were living kind of, let's say, by the plain or little hilltop or close to the plain. Always you had a plain to feed you. So like this kind of environment. But in that time, people didn't have that much complexity in their thoughts, in their symbolism. They were still following, like, as I told you, like that mobile hunter-gatherers pattern of their life. But of course, they were sedentary, but still they were like hunter-gatherers still. They didn't control plants and animals. But after living, let's say, 400 some years, about 12,000 years ago, we see the emergence of, I say emergence of sedentary mind, because living in a place for over 400, 500 years, you act like, you think like, and your attitude shaped by the environment surrounding you. And then your local environment extremely influenced your psychology, your behavior, your meaning of the world also, symbolic meaning also. And then how we see this, so I'll be talking about like these three sites in Tigris and Euphrates Basin. So in Upper Tigris Basin, I'll be talking about this Kortik Tepe, and in Middle Euphrates Basin, I'll be giving some information, some data from Göbekli Tepe and Karahan Tepe. So here you see, so both are in southeastern Turkey, but these are local setting, but the sites were far different in pattern and their subsistence, and also their behavior, symbolic behavior. So Kortik Tepe was settled down by the plain. It was a deltic area, not in the hill. So it was in a deltic area. So there was a river, it called Batman River, Batman Stream and Tigris Stream. They merged together in this delta. This site was settled down. And then people were building over time these houses, but these houses were round shape. So like Paleolithic or Epipaleolithic campsite type things. But over time, it became like these permanent houses. But they were all round shape houses. And then you had small storage structures around your houses. But people were all hunting and gathering, no control of plants or animals. So they were hunter, gatherer, and fisher, but living sedentary life, not moving from one place to another. And if you see Kortik Tepe, so like throughout this site actually continued throughout the Younger Dryas, and like just beginning of the Holocene, the site was abandoned. So in two phases, from Younger Dryas and early Holocene, we see the dense occupation. And then again, I told you these sites still they were following the technological trends also, like Epipaleolithic hunter-gatherer technology. They were using the tools, microlithic tools, and this. And inside these buildings, they were like burying the dead. So how they buried the dead? So if somebody dies, let's say, instantly with dead body, they defleshed. They take out all the flesh from the body. And then you had the raw skeleton. And onto the skeleton, you painted on red ochre and bitumen. And then after painting this red ochre or bitumen your skeleton, you did a lot of, let's say, rituals, funeral rituals. After doing funeral rituals, you place the dead, and then you put a lot of burial items, burial goods. And then you covered the burial. So the burial was like a baby sitting in a mother's womb, like this. It called hawker position, like this. So you'll be seeing, and they were like then sealed with gypsum plaster, and then people were continue living in the house. So the house having the burial, people are living in the house. So the dead is still living with the house. So if you see like this trend, you see still we have that color. So the Kortik Tepe has about 2,000 of these burials. So nowhere in the world, no Neolithic site ever actually found that many burials. And half of the burials were like this painted and with a lot of burial goods. Half of the burials were with burial goods, and many were painted. And you see still this paint is still visible. How we understood that these were intentional defleshing? Because when you examined the skull, you have the cut marks slice marks onto some part where you don't have meat, not non-meaty part. It means when you wanted to slice bone, actually, you put marks, cut slice marks on the bone. So you have this on a skull, on your like a knee, and like this joint, this kind of marks there were. And how we understood, like, these are the plaster onto the burial, and still you have this color, original color onto the plaster. When we remove the burial, we see this. And these were the burials, like you see. So these burials are sealed, not opened yet, before the opening the burials. So they place the dead, and then did the ceremony, funeral rites, put a lot of burial goods, and then with gypsum plaster covered. You see the white, these are gypsum plaster. And there weren't like communal buildings in this site, Kodiktepe, but there were like in two phases. There were big structure, domestic house, let's say. People were like, still you see like this, what do you call, storage part and other parts, but you had many burials inside one building. And like, let's say these items came from only one burial, like this. So that many. So if you think about like in that prehistoric time, it's quite expensive, like very expensive, not affordable things. And people weren't using this stone bowl for cooking or other purposes, only for ceremonial purposes. So there wasn't any metal in that time yet, only with stone. You carving a stone bowl with stone, and then using it for funeral rituals. You see? So like these burial goods came from one burial. So like this kind of lavish, extremely lavish materials they were used. So like these are the examples of burial with that many types of materials. And you have like about 500 stone bowls coming from the sites. And many of them are incised with a lot of designs, animal designs, geometric designs, and this. And you have hundred thousands of beads presented in the burial. And you see, like, you see animals. Some are unique to the local landscape, local ecology, but some are repeatedly come in from symbolic purposes. So like this bird here, like vulture, or like this snake here. And you hardly find any human imagery in this early stage. So for example, this Kodiktepe, like human, like this, only this kind of incising. Yeah. But you have a lot of animal imagery. Some are very unique to Kodiktepe. Like this is a scorpion, but you have like, you see the hollow, round hollow here. So here, so maybe, yeah, it's not working, but you can see here, you see this hollow mark, always you have this round mark. Like in a later time in Abrahamic religion, you'll see like this hollow mark in saints and other people, like this kind of mark you'll see. You see? Like, yeah. So here is a hybrid creature made of wasp and wild sheep, but it's like it's a supernatural form, and with this hollow mark always you'll see. And you find like this some unique symbols, and you find also more animal images. So far, no sites actually reveal this much materials, burial goods, and other materials in this early time, understanding the Neolithic. And going to the Euphrates Basin, I'll be showing two other sites. One is Göbekli Tepe, very famous, you know this. Another is it's like being excavated for 3-4 years. So these both sites are brought enormous attention for their like huge, enormous cult buildings. So these sites, so in Kordik Tepe, the earliest occupation was about 10,400 BC, continuous occupation. It means like 12,400. But from this site is from Göbekli Tepe 9,700 BC. So after, let's say, about 800 900 years. And Karahan Tepe, earliest occupation, you see about 300 years after the Kordik Tepe. So, but both they were pre-pottery Neolithic A. So these all three sites, people were hunter and gatherer, but they were sedentary people. They were selling one place, but they were living a life completely on nature, hunting and gathering. So you see this enormous. So in early phase, you see this big enormous, and then later they filled up this structure completely, and then onto the field they build new structures. So here also very big, enormous. So it's a downhill. Then you fill up the structure. Then onto this is a little bit uphill and become a flat area, more useful area. And then you build another buildings. How do we understand? So here in early phase, the tradition of the structure buildings were round shaped. And then later you see a square shape in pre-pottery Neolithic B. So like how we have these glass buildings over time, like this trend. So these are the like artistic reconstruction of how enormous. So these people, hunter-gatherer people, they came together and built this enormous big monument. So you can see from this Karahan Tepe picture, this is really very big, very big, like double than this room. Yeah, very big. And then they carved the stone here, the hill, and then they made this big. So here you see this, each pillar has like a human type feature, T-shaped feature, and like two hands coming from two sides, just this. And you have a big leopard post, leopard skin imagery onto this, all here. And in Göbekli Tepe, you see a lot of monolithic pillars around the round building. And in the middle, you have two big round buildings. All are T-shaped, as if like you have head and a human body. And then you have two hands coming from two sides. And you have a lot of, you see, animal imageries. A lot of, but not like Kordik Tepe. In Kordik Tepe, you have a small image, but here you have enormous, life-size, sometimes bigger animal feature. So a lot of animal feature, but if you look at, these are male. So all are male imagery. In the Kordik Tepe also you saw all the male animal imageries. All are male, and sometimes it's like they are like aggressive. But in the later period, towards the pre-pottery Neolithic B here in these sites, we see the coming up like new form of human imagery, like this. So human image carrying a aggressive animal onto the shoulder. And then you have this totemic pillar in the later period. So you have human and animal merged together, and then you have a big totemic pillar. So in these are the early stages. You have a lot of venomous, aggressive animals, and also male animal figures. And then in the later period, you see different sculpture, in human form. When we see the faunal remains from these three sites, in Kordik Tepe, you have diversity of fauna, very diversity of fauna. And you see, but you have some emphasis on like local available fauna. For example, in Kordik Tepe, you have red deer, but very big red deer, and also aurochs and a lot of birds. But in Halanchemi, you see more emphasis on pigs. And in Göbekli Tepe, you see more emphasis on gazelle. So these fauna are available, but these are like species, more common, but you have varieties, a diversity of animals. And so this was the general picture in early sedentary time. So people were living in one area, but still continuing their hunting gathering life. No change in their subsistence mode, always hunting and gathering, but living in one place. And then we saw this imagery. In the early time, you see a lot of animal symbol, and then later merging from animals to human little by little. And what happened after like 1,200 years in Pre-Pottery Neolithic B? So in Pre-Pottery Neolithic B, we see increase of number of sites, a lot of. So population increase because people were living in one place, and if you live in one place, it's easy to feed your children, so and also reproduce more, and then you have also population increase. But when you are on the move, it's too difficult to rear a child, and then also it's too difficult to give birth. So that's why from the early sedentary time, you had like this population increase. But in Pre-Pottery Neolithic B, we see increase a lot of new sites. I mean, new settlements, more village, a lot of village. But when you see these sites, the quality of the architectural materials are not that good as like Göbekli Tepe or like other Pre-Pottery Neolithic sites. So you see the building materials are like very little bit rough. You don't see not many animal imageries onto this stone pillar, and you see here, and also when you see the symbolic artifacts, like small things, you see a lot of movements between human. How? Because the raw material coming from various parts around. So even as far as in Mesopotamia, it came as far as from Afghanistan, northern part of Pakistan. So raw material came from there. So in Tel Halula, we see like in the later part of PPNB. So you have diversity of technology, and also, but there were like animal imageries, but not that as enormous and as diverse as like PPNA. And you see gradually emergence of human features more and more. So for example, here you have a like human head, like in an image of aggressive here in Kahan Tepe, image of aggressive animal shape. Here you have a bird sculpture, but image of a human. Or here humans dancing with a turtle. Or just simply just human, only human. And or supernatural being embodied into human body, featuring in human shape, human form. And when you see the faunal remains from these sites, you don't see that diverse faunal remains. You feel like there is kind of shortage of fauna, and you see more emphasis on particular species. So due to the technological advancement and due to population increase, so you have to focus on more secure food, and then you have reduction of diversity. So, for example, here in Harvest Suban Tepe or also in Sefer Tepe, you see they were focusing more and more on Ghazal, like up to 50%, 45%, 60% Ghazal. But the small games and other animals were really drastically reduced. And then you see this time, for the first time, we see the control over plants, so domestication of plants. And then we see the domestication of animals like pigs, sheep, goat, and cattle. And then by the time of 7th millennium BC, this idea of Neolithic, like controlling or managing the environment and then agriculture and farming things, actually spread beyond Anatolia into Greek islands and then towards Europe. So with this like 3,000 years of human behavior and this animal faunal status and the imagery, what we can see? We see in the early stage, you see a lot of symbolic activities, but all are related to animal things. All are mostly animals. And also we see these ideas are flowing. You have a lot of similarities, for example, from southeastern Turkey to northern Syria, from Tigris Basin to Euphrates Basin, even up to the Jordan, Israel, Palestine. So like this area, you see like similar imageries, for example, like vulture, like snake, like scorpion imageries are going spreading. But there are also unique imageries only available in local. So for example, this scorpion imagery you have from Kordik Tepe, but after 500 years, 400 years, you see same imagery in another site in Gusi Hoyuk. And for example, like this scorpion, this hybrid like supernatural creature, you also see in Hassan Cave, and also like this totem pillar here in Göbekli Tepe. Later, similar type of totem pillar you see in Karahan Tepe, and then also in Nevalli in Euphrates. But in Sefer Tepe, you don't have big totem pillar, but you have small bead like this, 2-centimeter bead, but with same feature. Human carrying a leopard or like a scary aggressive animal onto the back. And you see like this snake, viper imagery from Kordik Tepe to Göbekli Tepe to Nevalli to Karahan Tepe and to Jordan, up to Jordan and down to like the southern Levant. And also you see this vulture. So it's you see this all across Upper Mesopotamia and also Levant in Zagros area also, the vulture. And then in the later period, you see also in central Turkey, in Çatalhöyük also, same imagery. And also this male-centric approach, you see like whole Pre-Pottery Neolithic. So you see this male-centric figure. And also like here, it's about 500 kilometers distance, 400 kilometers distance from Göbekli Tepe. There's a new site is in Upper Tigris. It's called Grefilla. You see like a monument, ritual monument, like same pig sculpture in the ritual, using in ritualistic purpose. And also aurochs, bull, so used from the first sedentary up to the pottery Neolithic in Çatalhöyük. And also these human images, and also like this, like in Kordik Tepe, you had full burial things, but in the later period, we see people are not burying their dead in Sefer Tepe in whole skeleton. We didn't find any burial there, but we find secondary skull. So people, they were buried somewhere, and then their skull were taken into a ritual chamber, a sacred chamber, this called skull building, and then placed there. And same tradition we see in the later, like Tel Aswad But after 200 years, 300 years, they were like more plastered, like a mask onto their face. So placing like this. And like very, very few human images we see in the early sedentary time. But over time, as time passed, you see more and more human images into symbolic feature, symbolic orientation, symbolic presentation. So if we sum up with all these evidence, all these things here within these 3,000 years, we see people like in archaeological data sets, we see like in the early time, people were settled down, but still exploiting natural resources by hunting and gathering only. It means they didn't give up their mood of subsistence in their ancestry time. But over time, when they are settled down, they cannot move because they had more population. And also you have competition, local competition. Then you, over time, little by little, you have resource crisis, shortage of resource. And then you had to adopt with new environment. And then there were like climatic fluctuations also, like in that area after like 200 years, a lot of like different climate fluctuations. So people had to adapt with the new environment. And then they had to come up with this idea of domestication, what we see like this. Symbolically, when we see human, we don't see that much human imagery, but what we see animal imagery. But these animals weren't like kind of, let's say, subordinate to human. They were like, you see like very rich, very important burial. There you see very important animal imagery. So it means animals, they were highly important, like social maker, spiritual, in their spiritual mediators towards the natural world. But in the later time, and in early Neolithic, we see male-centric animal imagery, extremely, but not human dominance, animal dominance. But later time, we see human dominance into like natural, supernatural being, supernatural creature, supernatural character. So still they weren't human, they were supernatural character, supernatural being, but embodied into human feature. And then there I argue, this was the process to become domestication of human mind. So once you started this psychology, like domestication of your mind, there's no way back. So you place yourself into the thinking, into the imagination, the center of your imagination. And that's actually the driving force for us to think how we think today. Thank you.